For more than 3 decades, Marge Simpson has been Springfield's unshakable moral center. With that towering blue beehive and signature gravelly voice, she's the glue holding the Simpson family together. The patient mom, the tolerant wife, and the concerned citizen. But what if that's not the whole story? What if, under the pearls and apron, there's a character capable of wild hypocrisy, shocking rage, and even pure villainy? Today, we're not talking about the Marge who bakes for the school sale. We're talking about the Marge who destroys property, breaks the law, and sometimes becomes the very monster she's afraid of. From steroid-fueled rampages to jaw-dropping double standards, we're counting down all the times Marge Simpson went way, way too far. Number 5. The Queen of Hypocrisy. Let's kick things off with Marge's most common flaw, her absolutely staggering hypocrisy. Marge spends so much of her time policing the morals of her family and the entire town, yet she has a real knack for not living up to her own standards. A classic example is in Itchy and Scratchy and Marge, where she launches a one-woman crusade against cartoon violence after Maggie clocks Homer with a mallet. She forms a protest group and successfully pressures the studio into making the show completely toothless and boring. But her moral high ground crumbles when Michelangelo's statue of David comes to Springfield. As her fellow protesters demand the statue be censored for its nudity, Marge suddenly declares it a masterpiece that can't be touched. She's forced to admit that it's wrong to censor one kind of art but not another, proving her whole campaign was based on rules for thee but not for me. And this wasn't just a one-time thing. She constantly judges Homer for his behavior while conveniently ignoring her own questionable choices. Think about Life on the Fast Lane, where she almost has an affair with a sleazy bowling instructor named Jacques. She literally goes to his apartment for a brunch that was clearly not about the food. And while she does choose her family in the end, she later gets furious with Homer for just being photographed near an exotic dancer, a situation he was dragged into. It's a glaring double standard, and it shows that Marge's moral compass doesn't always point true north. Number 4. Officer Marge and a corrupt system. Tired of the crime and apathy in Springfield, Marge decides to take matters into her own hands in the Springfield Connection by joining the police force. At first, she's a shining light of integrity in a department defined by Chief Wiggum's incompetence and corruption. She aces her training and seems genuinely excited to make a difference. But her idealism quickly slams into the harsh reality of Springfield. Her friends get weird, treating her only like a cop, and even her own family gives her zero respect. The moment she really crosses a line, at least in Homer's eyes, is when she arrests him for a bunch of minor offenses, including parking his car across 3 handicap spots and taking her officer's hat. While she was technically just doing her job, busting her own husband felt less like justice and more like a personal power trip. The real turning point, though, is when she discovers Herman running a counterfeit jeans operation out of her own garage. After a chase where she saves Homer's life, Marge proudly brings the evidence to her fellow officers, only for it to mysteriously disappear. She realizes the corruption is so deep she can't possibly fix it from the inside. Disgusted, Marge quits the force, having learned the hard way that in Springfield, the law is just a suggestion. Number 3. Marge the Criminal. While she once wore the badge, Marge has also spent a surprising amount of time on the other side of the law. Her most famous brush with justice comes in Marge in Chains. Outworked and exhausted from taking care of her sick family, Marge heads to the Quickie Mart. In a moment of pure distraction, she accidentally walks out without paying for a bottle of bourbon for Grandpa. Instead of a simple reminder from Apu, she's immediately swarmed by cops and arrested for shoplifting. The town, hungry for a scandal, turns on her. Marge is publicly shamed and, thanks to the world's worst lawyer, Lionel Hutz, found guilty and sentenced to 30 days in prison. Her absence creates total chaos. The house falls apart, and the whole town descends into anarchy when a bake sale fundraiser fails without her famous marshmallow squares. Though her crime was an accident, her time in jail shows just how fragile her reputation is and how quickly the town she cares about will turn on her. And this wasn't her only arrest. She was also taken into custody for child neglect when Bart was found playing alone, a moment that highlights the immense pressure she's always under. For someone who tries so hard to be perfect, Marge has quite the rap sheet. It's clear there's more to Marge than meets the eye. We've seen her double standards and her criminal record, but we're just getting warmed up. Before we get to the moments where Marge's dark side completely took over, if you're enjoying this deep dive, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Now, let's get to the really bad stuff. Number 2. A ticking time bomb of rage. Most of the time, Marge is known for her endless patience. But every now and then, she snaps. And when she does, it's genuinely terrifying. One of the most unsettling examples is it's a mad Marge. When Otto's fiancée Becky gets left at the altar, she moves in with the Simpsons. Marge quickly spirals into a paranoid jealousy, convinced that Becky is trying to kill her and steal her family. Her paranoia gets so bad that during a public ceremony, it looks like she's about to attack Becky with a giant glass ice cream cone. While it turns out to be a misunderstanding and a frame job, Marge's paranoia is so extreme that she ends up temporarily institutionalized. And this wasn't an isolated incident. She once destroyed a burlesque house in a fit of moral outrage and even attacked Ned Flanders with a broken bottle during play rehearsals. These aren't the actions of a patient homemaker. They're the outbursts of someone with some serious repressed anger. Perhaps her coldest moment comes in Steal This Episode. When Homer starts illegally screening pirated movies in the backyard, Marge is consumed by guilt. But instead of just talking to him, she writes a letter to Hollywood, mailing it with a check for $12. This self-righteous act leads directly to the FBI raiding their home and arresting Homer. Marge's rigid need to follow the rules, even if it means betraying her own husband and getting him sent to prison, shows a side of her that is alarmingly severe. Number 1. The strong arms of the Ma. But all of that pales in comparison to the number 1 spot on our list, the one episode where Marge went so far off the deep end, it remains one of the most controversial moments in the show's history, the strong arms of the Ma. After getting mugged at the Quickie Mart, a traumatized Marge develops agoraphobia and becomes terrified to leave the house. To conquer her fear, she starts working out with an old weight set in the basement. At first, it's empowering. She builds muscle, regains her confidence, and even gets revenge on her mugger. But this new strength quickly spirals out of control. Encouraged by her neighbor Ruth Powers, Marge starts taking steroids. She transforms into a hulking, aggressive bodybuilder, and her personality completely warps. She becomes a bully, which culminates in a roid rage-fueled rampage where she single-handedly destroys Moe's Tavern and beats up every single person inside. But the episode's most infamous and disturbing scene is what happens with Homer. One night, Marge wants to be intimate, but Homer, exhausted and a little intimidated, says he's not in the mood. Marge's response is chilling. I wasn't asking. The next morning, Homer is seen limping in pain, implying he was coerced. The episode treats this moment of spousal sexual assault like a throwaway joke, a decision that was, and still is, heavily criticized. It's a moment so dark and so out of character that it forces us to question everything we thought we knew about Marge. In her quest to never be a victim again, she became an abuser. So, is Marge Simpson really the moral paragon of Springfield? Or is she a deeply flawed person, capable of hypocrisy, crime, and shocking violence? The evidence is clear. While she almost always tries to do the right thing, there's a darkness lurking under that blue beehive. From nagging double standards to a steroid-fueled assault, Marge has proven time and again that even the most well-intentioned person can go too far. But what do you think? What was Marge Simpson's absolute worst moment? Did we miss any on our list? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into your favorite characters. Thanks for watching.